Hello, my name is Jenny and I'm a registered nurse and I'm an activist for the Royal College of Nursing. I want to welcome you tonight to our rally for Fair Pay for Nursing. This campaign is asking for a 12.5% pay increase for nursing staff on NHS terms and conditions, and we are asking for talks on this pay rise to start now. Nursing pay has not kept pace with the cost of living, and in real terms, this means nursing staff are worse off now than we were 10 years ago. This cannot wait. We must address this injustice now. Also, nursing pay does not reflect the complexity of our skills, the responsibility and our experience. We deserve more and we should be paid fairly so that enough people come into our profession and the people who are already here stay so we can make it safe, the most important part of our role, patient care. Tonight we have 10 amazing speakers to give you more information and tell their stories. This event is being recorded and will be available on YouTube, and we would be grateful if you shared it. For those of you who have joined us tonight who are nurses, nursing staff, or health or social care workers, thank you. We know how challenging your roles can be, and we know the sacrifices and motivation that it takes to work in these important roles, especially in the middle of a pandemic. We see you and we appreciate you. For those of you who are joining us tonight to support nurses and nursing staff, thank you. We appreciate you taking the time to hear our stories, and we appreciate that you care about the people who care for you. We are grateful for your support. I woke up this morning and I was proud that I am a registered nurse, and I was proud of all nursing staff across the UK. And I know that we deserve to have a fair amount in our pay packets at the end of every month, and we deserve to be valued because every day nursing staff impact, improve and save lives. Working in nursing is a role that demands a high level of education, a high level of technical skills. It demands that we understand what it means to ensure safe care happens. It needs a high level of emotional intelligence and a high level of compassion. Those who work in nursing are some of the brightest and some of the best. Every member of nursing staff in the UK has many stories that show their value, stories that show their skill, stories that show their knowledge, and stories that show how they can change lives. And that's why we're here today. We're going to hear why nursing deserves to be valued by being given a fair pay rise. We start tonight by listening to someone who's used the power of storytelling to illuminate the world of nursing and its value. Her books, The Courage to Care and The Language of Kindness, are vital and timely pieces that covers what it means to be a nurse, what it means to care, inspirational nurses and the bravery of patients and families. So I'm delighted to hand over to our first speaker, nurse and author, Professor Christy Watson.
Can you hear me? Thumbs up from anyone? Can anyone hear me? Okay, excellent. I'm having some technical issues such as our time. Apologies for that. I am so honoured to have the opportunity to support this campaign. My name is Christy Watson. I'm a nurse, I'm a writer, and I've been talking for a long time about the importance of nurses, how vital they are to society, and how undervalued and overworked and underpaid nurses are. And I was making final edits to my 4th book earlier this year, and then COVID hit the world and changed us all really, perhaps forever. One of the most devastating things I think that has happened this year is the idea that people haven't been able to be with their loved ones, even when they're sick or dying. And nurses have reminded us at this time that no one is ever alone. And nurses have been at the forefront of the pandemic. You've gone to work every day in a world of COVID in order to care for our neighbours, our families, our communities, the most vulnerable. And nurses have thought of others before themselves. They've always done this and they will always do this. And I feel like that's such an enormous comfort for all of us at this tragic time. It's nursing staff and teams who are saving lives during all of this. And it will be nurses who bear the weight of COVID long after the first and the second, and dare I say, the third peak. Because we're just at the end of the beginning, really. And our families that we care for are going to go through some terrible, terrible things, as we know. And I don't think we can even properly imagine how bad things are going to be, but we know that nurses will always be there. We need our nurses more than ever before, and we will need our nurses more than ever before moving forwards at this time. And the fact that we are even having to demand a pay rise that is appropriate, that's 12.5% for our nurses, is quite frankly immoral, I think, and astonishing. But demand we must. And nurses are exhausted and traumatized. And we are angry. We are so angry. And we need to turn that anger into something. And we need our nurses more than ever. Now is the time for us to demand the respect and pay that nurses absolutely are entitled to. And now is the time for nursing staff all across the world, but particularly in the UK and our health and social care systems, to get the 12.5% pay rise, to show how valued they are. Now is most definitely the time. And I know that's very difficult because we are so, so tired. I promise that I will lend my voice to hopefully amplify the nursing issues outside nursing and outside the profession. And I will do the very best I can. I know that so many brilliant people that you're going to hear from this evening are doing the very best they can. And I know that you're doing the very best that you can. But now is most definitely the time. And I do feel like we need to turn that thanks and the clapping into fighting. And nurses have never, ever been more important. So thank you for all that you do. But like I said, thanks isn't enough now. Clapping's not enough now. So I fully support the RCN campaign for a 12.5% pay for nursing staff right now. It is more vital than ever. And I'm going to leave you with the words of Rumi, actually. I wrote a quote from Rumi in my latest book. And I think even though the words are centuries old, I think that they are very timely. Because Rumi said, "I know you're tired, but come, this is the way." Thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you so much for your powerful words, Christy. So friends, leaders are important, and especially in times of pressure and crisis. The Royal College of Nursing is fortunate that one of our leaders is Professor Dame Donna Kinnair, who is our Chief Executive and General Secretary. Dame Donna has responded to unprecedented times and enormous pressure on the nursing workforce by being a fierce advocate for us. You will have seen Donna speaking up for nursing on TV and in the press. She is a force to be reckoned with, and I am delighted to hand over to her now.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for taking the time to come to this rally. This is our first online rally. And this could not be a busier time for nursing, no matter where you work. Throughout the pandemic, the country has witnessed the most impressive demonstration of nursing and seen it as the highly skilled profession it is. I understand that most of you have precious little time to spare, so I'm glad that you attended this event. But today, we have seen the Chancellor ignore the opportunity to honour our expertise and our dedication in his statement today. Instead, Rishi Sunak has chosen to leave us as nurses worse off than 10 years ago, forcing many experienced nurses and nursing support workers like you to consider leaving the career they love. This is why it's so important that your voice is heard. It is up to us, as the Royal College of Nursing, to counter the government when they say that nursing's already seen a pay rise. Whether the government wants to believe it or not, our profession is worse off than it was 10 years ago. Funding our health and care system has always been and always will be a political choice. After years of inadequate support for the largest health and care workforce in the UK, the government should choose to make the right choice now. The NHS and social care are nothing without its staff, from the lowest to the highest paid. Your ability to pull together has been seen, has been shown, and has been felt in this crisis. And the public is looking for the government to do what is right and what is fair by all of us nurses. The Chancellor was just one of those politicians who fell over themselves to be photographed clapping for the NHS. I'm sure Boris and he really did want to show their appreciation for us. But yet when we wrote to them with 14 other health unions to ask the government to back up their clapping with some investment, I didn't get a reply. So how does that make us as nurses feel? Early this year, you told us that you were all stretched. You told us that COVID-19 was not the only pressure you're feeling. This isn't just the experience of a handful of our members, it's the experience of all of our members. A third of nursing staff have told us that they are thinking about leaving our profession. That's more than last year. Around 31,500 told us in a survey that higher pay would make them feel more valued. And it's up to us and to me to make the argument to government that nursing staff need an early and significant pay rise. But ultimately, this is about political decision makers looking at what we already do and choosing to value it fairly. After years of inadequate support for the largest health and care workforce, the government should make the right choice now. We don't want claps or medals or pin badges. This time, just pay us fairly for the very tough job that we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna, for your amazing advocacy. This Fair Pay for Nursing campaign is being led by members of the Royal College of Nursing who have been elected to represent their colleagues. I am extremely privileged and occasionally overwhelmed to be one of those people. But one of the most reassuring parts of doing this role is that the group is led by Dame Rafferty, who is chair of the Royal College of Nursing Trade Union Committee. Graham is an experienced and committed trade unionist, and he is also fearless and unapologetic about the fight to have nursing pay increased. So I'm delighted to hand over to my friend now.
Jenny, thank you very much for that introduction, because he's not only fearless and unapologetic, he's also bloody angry. Let's be frank here. He is angry. He is angry not on behalf of himself, but on behalf of every single person who is watching this video tonight, who heard the absolute balderdash and platitudes that come out of the government's mouth today through the mouthpiece of Rishi Sunak. Absolutely appalling. Appalling, members, and we should be sick of that. And we are sick of that, and we have told them that we are sick of that. Members of this trade union have told them in their thousands how sick of it we are. We are not asking for the sun, the moon, and the stars. All we are asking for is fair pay. Fair pay. We're asking for our pay to be recovered from what it was 10 years ago. We're asking for pay to actually reflect the knowledge and skills that each and every one of you provide day in, day out. COVID, not COVID, every day of your working life. And in fact, you take that home with you. You take that home with you every night. And you think about what you've done during that day, because that's what being a nurse is. It's about caring, it's about compassion, it's about feeling for fellow mankind. Did we see that in the government today? Did we see that in the government today? That they care? Do they care about you? We got a mealy-mouthed expression of thanks and gratitude, a mealy-mouthed expression that went a bit like this. Well, of course, we will listen to the peer review body and we will listen to what they say. Well, news just in, folks. The peer review body has just started its task. The peer review body has just started its task. It's in the process of going round, gathering evidence from health trusts. And then we will be giving some evidence to the peer review body, which we have prepared. We have prepared it in your name, and we will share that. We will share that at a time when that is right to be shared, because that evidence demonstrates quite clearly the rationale behind why we're asking for fair pay for nursing. And that is nothing less than 12.5%. We are asking for that in your name, and we need you members to be behind us as we do ask for that. Because this is not a corporate campaign. You can have me, you can have Donna, you can have Jenny, we'll have Dave a bit later on. All of us, we represent different forces within the RCN, but we are elected by you to carry forward this campaign. Without you, our voice is nothing. It's nothing. And today I felt really, really, really angry, But I also felt sad. I felt sad because they've missed an opportunity here. They've missed an opportunity to look after this country's health and well-being. Because what they've said is we're going to give, I think it was 3.4 billion to build new hospitals and investment in the health service. But they're forgetting about the bloody glue that holds the service together. They're forgetting about the manpower, the people that actually engage and look after patients in this country. It's an absolutely ridiculous statement that they come out with today. Ridiculous. And I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed on behalf of Margaret. Margaret's a healthcare support worker that I know from Glasgow. And Margaret told me she's a single parent and she's got 3 children. And Margaret's on universal credit. And Margaret can only work 18 hours a week because she's on universal credit. And I'm angry for Margaret because that's all she can work. Because she comes to her work every day to care for her patients and puts her heart and soul into caring for her patients. And I'm angry for Margaret because Margaret, all she does is eat, sleep and work. And when she does have time with those 3 beautiful children that she's got, when she does have time, she spends that in a flat in Govan Hill in Glasgow. She spends it alone in that flat with her 3 children. Why? Because she can't afford to go out. There is no extra money. Last month, Margaret said it was really, really hard. She had to make some real choices. And those choices went along the lines of, how do I get to my work? What do I do? Do I go without a meal when I'm at work and pay for the transport to get me there? Because it was a 5-week month. It was a 5-week month. That's how tight things are. And Margaret's not the worst off. And Margaret's happy. And she's happy to be caring. But does she deserve to be let down by this government? Does she deserve to be let down by this government? Now, I know I'm talking about a Scottish person here, but that Scottish person needs the government in England to actually guarantee the funds that will be transferred to Scotland in order that Scotland can enact its pay and for its nurses. So there is a connectivity, and we've all got skin in the game here, people. We all have skin in the game, because without Westminster acting, Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland will all suffer. So we've all got skin in the game. So what I want to tell you tonight is a little bit around, what we are intending to do. We've had tonight, we've had the news that Westminster is going to do nothing. So they've clapped us, they've not backed us. They've gave us platitudes and they've done nothing. Now we know that the public support is there, and tonight we will be launching a petition for the RCN, a public petition to show the strength of feeling in this college and from the public that nurses deserve a 12.5% pay rise. And folks, we deserve it now, not next year. By the time the peer review body report back, it will be April at the earliest. So we are being assigned to another 4 to 5 months of poor pay because of this government's willful intention of inactivity. And basically, it is absolutely disgusting. They hold our profession in absolute disdain. They want to take, and not give. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And we need to stand together. I would love to be standing in a rally in the middle of Westminster at this moment in time, but I can't do that. I'm standing with you in solidarity through a computer. I'm speaking to you down the lens of a computer. I love a good protest march, but this protest that we have got now is one that matters, because ultimately, if we cannot attract people into our profession, if we cannot pay our graduate students properly as they enter into our profession, we have a significant problem, because things are tough out there. Things are tough, and we know that they are tough. We know the RCN has been told by you so many times just how tough that is. We need you to work with us. This is your campaign. Work with us. And I believe with the public support and the support of the nursing profession, we will win. We can win, and we will win. That's what I want to say to you tonight, members. That's what I want to say to you from my heart. I want us to carry this forward. Be proud of being a nurse. Be proud of the fact that you care about people. Even in the face of adversity, you care about people. And COVID has been an adversity that we've never faced before in any of our careers. But you care. That's in your nature. The nature to nurture, to care, to show compassion, and to believe that the good of society benefits from the interventions that you do as a nurse and a carer in this wonderful profession that we all belong to. I'll pause there, Jenny, and hopefully that will give people some time to think and reflect on the messages that I've delivered tonight.
Thank you so much, Graham. We want to thank you for all the work you're doing and the passion and the tenacity that you do it with. So we're going to move to our next speaker, who is one of our valued colleagues who represents nursing support workers in the Royal College of Nursing and is also an RCN steward, Kevin Morley. In nursing, we know the importance of teamwork, and this week as an organisation we have celebrated the vital contribution of nursing support workers and the contribution they make in caring for the health of the nation. So I'm so pleased that I'm able to hand over now to Kevin.
Good evening, everybody. This is unprecedented times that we're in, especially with the COVID and the way that it's affecting our public, and also the way that it's affecting our nurses, each and every one of them that attends to a patient. But it wasn't only just because of the COVID. Previous to COVID, our workforce was overstretched, underpaid, undervalued. So we need to shout it loud and let the government hear us that we're shouting loud, because we all stand beside the beds of those that are poorly, Doesn't matter whether they're COVID or whether they've just got general health issues. We are out there looking after our Joe public. So a pay increase, is that too much to ask for? Especially when the government have taken and given themselves pay increases. I think it's a bit of a kick in the teeth for us. Health and social care is paramount to each and every one of our public that's out there that we look after. And fair pay should be for all of us. Each and every nurse, doesn't matter whatever grade they are, feel for our public as we nurse them. We care for our public every day, and we care also for our colleagues, because we sit in the offices and we watch how they become stressed because they can't do enough, because they haven't got enough manpower in that office. Even more so when our own nurses become COVID as well and take time out to look after their family because their family member may be COVID as well. Puts added an extra stress on each and every one of us out there. It causes a panic in us all as we go home. Have we done enough? Have we listened to them? Have we done what we should for them? The stress and anxiety in each and every nurse should be valued, and it should be valued now. We all must stand together as nurses, doesn't matter what grade we are, whether we are a HCA or whether we're a qualified nurse, we're a registered nurse, be it in social or public care, we need to stand together. And each and every one of our nurses needs to vote, needs to put their voice forward and stand and make this happen, because that is the only way that we're going to be able to get this through, is by us all standing together. They did it in Ireland and they stood together. They did it in Scotland and they made changes. Now it's about time that we all stood together and we made that change happen here. Thank you. Jenny, you're on mute.
Sorry, everyone. I was saying thank you so much,
Sorry.
Kevin, for your words of solidarity. They were really powerful. We're now going to hear from Carmelo Boyle. He's a nurse practitioner and an RCN representative from Liverpool, who has a real passion for standing up for others. During the coronavirus pandemic, many nurses recorded their experiences to shine a light on the impact of the disease, the nurse's crucial role in caring for people affected and keeping other health services going. Carmel was one of these people, and she recorded an honest, moving account of that time, and it can be found on the RCN website. Carmel has had a roller coaster of experiences during the pandemic that's still ongoing. She worked on a COVID ward, moved away for a family, and was later asked to Shield. I'm now privileged to be one of the people who will now hear from her and hear about her views on fair pay.
Thanks, Jenny. What an introduction. What a privilege it is to come here and speak tonight. And as some of you may have heard, my audio diaries that went from being quite positive at the beginning of the pandemic to just abject misery, really, at the end of that kind of tale. And what a ridiculous year to describe all the things that we've been through. But I echo everybody else's thoughts, and now is the time. Now is the time for these discussions about our conditions. In a time of overwhelming pressure, overwhelming stress and overwhelming sadness, you were not overwhelmed. Healthcare workers stepped up, worked in extreme conditions and under the most horrendous pressures, and cared for our patients in a way that we always have, with compassion and dignity. Care workers have been looked at properly for the first time in a long time and appreciated as the professionals we are, and the nation recognised this, and it's time our government did too. Everyone deserves a fair wage, but now is the time for nurses and all our healthcare family to be recognised for the skills we have. We're not just sympathetic people with a propensity for care, we are all this and more. We are educated, trained, we spend our lives honing skills. Throughout lockdown, I've been sat at this computer, doing master's exams and all the mandatory training that we need for us to continue to care for our people, and that's what this is all about. to care for our patients, grandmas and granddads and parents and children all over this land, day in and day out. Our NHS and healthcare system is the best thing about this country, and our government holds the purse strings for this. Don't tell me that there's no magic money tree. At the beginning of the pandemic, our MPs were awarded £10,000 to stay and work at home, and then topped up with another £3,000. That is half of a Band 5 nurse's wage. Don't tell me there's no money. Our government needs to think about what they're spending and spend it better. Nurses in my branch are having to use food banks to feed their children, and that in this day, in this country, is an absolute abomination. Our members are fatigued and frightened, and the tales I've heard from my branch members would leave you all in tears. I've got my own tears that I have shed for the past few months, and I'm sure will continue. This year has been unprecedented, and the toil is unreal. We need support and recognition, not just for COVID, but for all the times that we've used our skills to care. We're understaffed, underfunded and undervalued, and now is the time for this to change. 50,000 vacancies is unsustainable. We need more nurses, but not only that, we need the right people in the right places, and we need them as soon as we can. We need to recruit and retain our members, and for this we need a fair wage. Now is the time for change. The RCN is the voice of nursing, and you are the beating heart of our healthcare system, the heart of our RCN. Use your voices and show your passion and help us to get fair pay. Now is the time. Now is the time for us to be recognised. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Carmel, for your words. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague who I work with on the Royal College of Nursing Trade Union Committee and who represents Wales, Jackie Davis. Jackie is one of the hardest working representatives I've ever met. She is motivated to support and represent her colleagues locally in Wales by her sense of fairness and her sense of justice. Jackie is someone that, whatever the situation is, does not hesitate to speak truth to power. So I'm delighted to hand over to her now.
Diolch yn fawr, and thank you very much, Jenny. As Jenny said, my name is Jackie Davis, and I'm a Wales member on the RCN Trade Union Committee. I'm a nurse and I'm an RCN steward, and I've been a nurse for 35 years. So it's a real privilege to be here tonight speaking to members across the UK. And as a working nurse, I know how busy we all are right now and how hard it is to find time for our families. So for us all to give up this time tonight, it must be really important. We need and deserve a pay rise. We work extraordinarily hard all the time. And with the pandemic, the stress we have been under and the extra hours we have worked have been harder than ever. So during this pandemic, I have worked in COVID areas. I've worked extra hours, sometimes when I didn't really want to, but that was to support my colleagues because there was nowhere else. In the first lockdown, there was one period where I worked 21 days straight because those shifts needed covering and it would have left a deficit on the wards. I've worn PPE. I've left my son. I've stayed away from my elderly parents, so I can hand on heart say that I have lived this journey with you. So when I ask, why do we deserve a pay rise? I think about what is it like to be a nurse today? Because of the PPE and the COVID requirements, nurses haven't been able to use their normal break facilities. So nurses are working long hours, often without breaks. When they do get a break, it's a quick grab a sandwich or a drink, and there's rarely time for a hot meal. The PPE is uncomfortable, it's hot, it's claustrophobic. We've all seen the photos on social media of the facial bruising, the red marks left by the masks, the sore hands because of excessive hand washing and alcohol gels. I'll tell you now, my hands are a mess and particularly itchy tonight. But this is on top of leaving our families every day to care for loved ones of others. And many healthcare workers have had to live away from their families to protect them. And this is at a personal cost, a cost to their own mental health. But hey, we are nurses and this is what we do. This time though, the ask is greater. It's more serious. COVID is scary. And very ill people need our help in greater numbers than ever before. We are scared too. The first time I worked on a ward with suspected COVID patients and I had to put on the PPE, I've got to be honest, I was very nervous. We are fully aware of the risks to our own health. We know only too well the numbers of healthcare workers who have died. We have all lost colleagues who have died from COVID. Imagine going to work every day where you have lost a colleague from COVID, but we still go to work because we nurses will always be there for our patients. So as a trade union representative, I'm currently supporting nurses who are sick from work because they have either had or are currently sick with COVID. Some of the people that I'm supporting at the moment have got long COVID, which we don't fully understand and potentially has long-term consequences for their health. But there are other effects too. One particular case which has resonated with me was a young nurse that I spoke to on the phone, and she was very upset. And she had not been qualified very long, but that's not really important. But she had been looking after a patient with COVID, and this patient was dying. And she was sat with that patient holding an iPad so the patient's family could say goodbye. Now, she was glad to have been able to do this for the patient and the family, but that experience will stay with that nurse forever. The NHS has had to massively increase critical care beds to accommodate the large numbers of our very poorly patients, but there are no extra critical care nurses. So nurses from other specialities have had to be redeployed from their usual jobs, and they're put in clinical areas where they have no experience. So the anxiety and the stress this causes is huge. So I speak to nurses worried that they might make a mistake, and they say to me, I might lose my PIN. And this is a common fear, but typical of the nursing family. Despite our own apprehension, these nurses are stepping up every single day. Many are retraining to be able to use specialised equipment. Many are making the most of their transferable skills and just doing what they can. Every one of them working in unfamiliar areas. But the one thing they all have in common, these nurses will deliver the best possible care for their patients no matter what. This is nursing. This is what we do. And this is why enough is enough. Nurses' pay was frozen for several years, resulting in a real term pay decrease. But on top of that, nurses' pensions were also attacked, and their contributions that they now have to make towards their pensions trebled overnight. So not only did nurses have a pay freeze, literally their take-home pay was reduced by a couple of £100 a month. And on top of that, their retirement age was increased to 68. And nursing is both physically and mentally demanding. In Wales, many nurses are the main or only wage earner in some families, and the pay freeze has had a devastating impact in some of our communities, especially those where unemployment is greatest. And this is one of the reasons why we are demanding that the pay award is not only substantial, but is fully funded by the UK Treasury. Now, the UK Treasury gives money to the Welsh Government for nurses' pay. So as Welsh members, we demand that the UK Government fully fund our pay rise. So I'm calling all the Welsh members tonight to sign the RCN petition that was launched today. Graham mentioned it earlier. We are sending a clear message to the UK government. We are sending a clear message to Boris and Ruth and Mr. Sunak to fully fund our pay rise. All the emails we have sent to our Welsh MPs already know how angry we are. So signing this petition in our thousands will show we will not give up. We are not going to let the Welsh Government off the hook either, because when the money comes from the UK Treasury, we will be expecting the Welsh Government to make a very generous pay award to us. Now, we have Welsh elections in May, so our politicians are already in campaign mode, but so are we. So visit our website and help us put pressure on every political party in Wales to commit to their manifesto for a pay rise for nurses. Not just a pay rise, we want the Welsh Government to give us the full 12.5% pay rise we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jackie, and thank you for sharing some of your personal experience. We're now going to listen to first year student nurse, Alicia Kelly. Alicia only started her nurse education 3 months ago. She has a background in performing, in dance and music, and she's always used her creativity and social platforms to promote positive mental health. Alicia has been inspired to write some spoken word poetry to help the campaign. I'm so impressed with her bravery and her tenacity so early in her career to speak up for the nursing profession. So thank you, Alicia, and it's over to you.
Thank you, Jenny. This is my poem, 12.5% for our nurses. We wake up, day in, day out. We go to work, not knowing the challenges we may face, but as nurses, we have a place in helping society and the people we meet, from cardiac arrest to broken feet. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. We will treat you with care and compassion because us nurses have a passion in helping others and the people and working as a team. To become a nurse has always been my dream. You clapped for us every Thursday night when COVID came along. We felt supported, respected, adored. Have you given up because you're bored? But that is not why I'm here today. I'm here to tell you why we deserve fair pay, undervalued and forgotten. That's how our nurses feel. So I'm directing this to the government because this issue is real. You want to prepare for the future, then you must recruit, train and retain, because our nurses are struggling with the thought of going through this again. With nurses' pay not reflecting the incredible work they do, the ultimate decision is down to you. The RCN are asking for just 12.5% because the nurses' salary really should cover more than just their rent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Honestly, that was amazing, and I'm sure so many people are going to agree. So we're moving on now, and next we're going to hear from Fiona Devlin, a steward and RCN council member for Northern Ireland. Fiona was part of the team of incredible nursing staff who took unprecedented strike action earlier this year to restore pay parity with the NHS in England and implement a series of measures to improve safe staffing. This action was undertaken to protect patient care and resulted in the RCN proposals being accepted. So I'm looking forward to hearing from our colleague, and it's over to you, Fiona.
Thank you, Jenny. Nursing staff in Northern Ireland are worse off now than we were 10 years ago. RCN members in Northern Ireland know only too well what it is like to fall behind in pay and staffing levels. For nurses and nursing assistants in Northern Ireland, we saw our pay fall behind inflation, and then, to make matters worse, we saw our pay fall behind our colleagues in other parts of the UK too. RCN members here know the pressure of a fragile nursing workforce, with thousands of vacancies in health and social care trusts and the same amount in the independent and nursing home sector. It's worth remembering, as Jenny has said, that this time last year, RCN members in Northern Ireland were preparing to take industrial action and strike action. RCN members should never have needed to stand on cold, wet picket lines to secure pay parity and safe staffing. However, our members did just that with the first industrial action ever in the history of RCN of 103 years. It wasn't an easy thing to do, either from the logistics of organising or from the sense of professional responsibility toward patients. We should never have had to fight for financial recognition for what we do. But it was that sense of responsibility towards patients that meant RCN members in Northern Ireland knew that they had to take the ultimate action of industrial action and strike action. Funding our health and care system is a political choice. Politicians must never put nurses and nursing assistants in a conflict between funding and fair pay. There must be fair pay and safe staffing. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, Northern Ireland has witnessed the most impressive demonstration of nursing, seeing it as a highly skilled profession deserving of fair pay. Indeed, Northern Ireland, the public support during the pay party and safe staffing campaign showed the massive public support for recognising the value of the profession. Nursing leads care and changes lives. Nursing must be recognised as the complex, skilled and responsible work that it truly is. Nursing has once again been proven to be vital to public health, but the FairPayForNursin campaign is not a response to the COVID-19. The campaign is about recognising the complexity of skill, responsibility and experience demonstrated every day by registered nurses, nursing support workers and all members of the profession. The COVID-19 pandemic has further highlighted the fragility of the nursing workforce and our health and social care systems. The FairPayForNursin campaign is about making sure that a safety critical profession can secure safe staffing levels and fill tens of thousands of unfilled nursing vacancies across the whole of the UK. Nursing staff across Northern Ireland in all the different branches of nursing and different care settings and sectors are crumbling under the weight of trying to shore up a system that's on its knees. Our campaign is about recognising that the salaries of nursing professionals have not kept pace with increases to our living costs over the last decade. We are now 12.6% worse off than we were 10 years ago. A fully funded 12.5% pay rise will not resolve all the issues overnight, but it will help the nursing workforce to know the value that politicians spoke about when they stood and clapped us on the doorsteps not so long ago. Nursing is still struggling with record vacancies across the UK and around 2,000 vacant posts in the HSC in Northern Ireland and still more in the independent and nursing home sector here. RCN NI says it is time for the governments across the UK to fully fund a 12.5% increase to increase the attractiveness of the profession and to keep more nurses in post and bring in the next generation of nurses. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fiona, for sharing the journey that nursing in Northern Ireland has recently taken. So next up is the Chair of RCN Council, Dave Dawes. Dave has been an RCN representative for many years and done many roles within the Royal College of Nursing, and he has shared with the Royal College of Nursing and with nursing overall his considerable skills and his creativity to ensure the voice of nurses is heard. So it's over to you, Dave.
Thanks. I've been active in the RCN since I was a first year student, and I remember becoming a steward in 1991. And I can even remember my very first pay rally, marching in Harrogate in an RCN t-shirt that hasn't fitted me in decades. This is a much more civilized way to do a pay rally. The RCN has been fighting for better pay since before I started training, before I was born. And it's been fighting my entire life. In 1948, staff nurses were paid £1 for an 8-hour shift. Not even £1 an hour, £1 for an 8-hour shift. Every single pay rise that we've won since then has been fought for by the RCN, and every single pay rise we've had since then has been resisted by governments. This is my 8th year on RCN Council, and I've been a council member in the 90s, in the 2000s, in the 2010s, and now. And I can confirm as a council member and as your chair of council that pay and staffing are absolutely top of our agenda. Every single council member cares passionately about this. I spent the 1990s working for the NHS, but for the last 20 years, I've worked in the independent sector. And I sometimes hear colleagues in the independent sector say, oh, this isn't really about us. This is about an NHS pay rise. And it's true. This campaign is about a 12.5% pay rise for the NHS and the NHS nursing family. But pay in the independent sector is intrinsically linked to pay in the NHS. If you run a care home or a private hospital and you need to recruit nurses to provide care, you are in direct competition with the NHS for those staff, and you have to pay competitive pay. If NHS nurses win a 12.5% pay rise, this will clearly impact pay rises in the independent sector. Always has done, always will do. If pay rises in the NHS, it will rise in the independent sector. If pay stays frozen in the NHS, it will stay frozen in the independent sector. And I talk about pay and staffing because for me, the two things are absolutely intrinsically linked. This isn't about us wanting more money or just wanting more cash, having a more comfortable lifestyle. This is about being able to recruit people into the profession and about organisations being able to recruit the nurses they need to provide the care they need to provide. Pay isn't the only thing that attracts people into nursing, but if you don't pay people enough to live on and support their families, they'll just go and work elsewhere. And we know more and more nurses are really struggling. We're hearing about nurses having to access food banks. We're hearing about more and more nurses getting into debt, more and more nurses really struggling. And we know that there are more and more nurses looking at better paid jobs with, quite frankly, less stress, less personal trauma, and less pressure. Nursing is hard enough at the moment, even if you were paid enough and had decent staff around you and the staff that you need. It's still really difficult. But you take away decent pay, you take away the ability to support yourself and your family, and you take away enough colleagues around you, and it's just too much. And it's clearly too much for many, many nurses across the whole UK to bear. We'll only win this fight if more and more members get involved. We need you to be part of the change that we're trying to achieve. It's an old cliche, but the RCN is its members. We can't achieve anything without members behind us. And basically, we're either going to win this pay rise together or we will just lose alone.
Thank you so much, Dave. So last in this pay rally, but definitely not least, is our RCN President, Professor Anne Marie Rafferty. Anne Marie is an academic whose research provides evidence to safe staffing policy, and she's a professor at nursing at King's College London. Her work supports and protects us all, and I'm delighted to hand over to her now.
Thank you very much, Jenny. I'm really proud, humbled and inspired by the stories, the testimony, the words and the poetry that I've heard this evening. But fair pay for nursing is not just an ask, it's a demand. Why? Because pay is a proxy for how nursing is valued. And I believe that nursing staff have a right, a fundamental human right to fair pay. Why is that? Well, it's not just to enable enough of us to provide safe and effective care, but because decent jobs and conditions are enshrined in sustainable development goals. And of course, the State of the World's Nursing Report that was published earlier this year. And hence it's key to the sustainability of our health and care systems that we've heard about already and our fabric of society. We've heard from thousands of you from surveys, webinars and social media. We have data in abundance. You have spoken, and now is a time for the government to heed hear and heed the voice of nursing and act now. There's little doubt, of course, that 2020 has tested us all as never before. But fair pay for nursing is about more than the pandemic. We've heard that pay's not kept pace with the rise in demand, complexity of care and responsibility that nursing staff shoulder. But more to the point, the value of nursing pay has plummeted in the last 10 years. We are calling on the government to put that right, to renew their social contract with the profession. Now is the time to turn the plaudits of the pandemic into the reward and recognition needed, and to protect patients and future-proof the most critical, safety-critical profession in healthcare. Our demand of UK government is simple: fair pay for nursing. This is about fundamental fairness. This is about safe staffing. This is about pay and progression. This is about social justice. But ultimately, it's about patient care. And we need deeds and not words. Colleagues, we need to keep talking about our campaign, keep sharing on social media, sign and share our petition, as we've already heard. Together we can, together we shall. We will make the changes needed for our profession to win, as Graham said, and win we will.
Thank you so much, Anne Marie, for those final words of inspiration, and to all our speakers tonight who shared their personal experiences, the information they've got, and the evidence that nurses should be valued and should receive fair pay. Thank you to everyone who attended this rally for Fair Pay for Nursing. Please do not let this be the end of the conversation. Please help us to take it further as we continue to speak up for ourselves and for our patients. Please talk to your families, talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues, and really, really importantly, talk to your politicians. For us, for you, and for safe patient care, let's get fair pay for nursing.